Good afternoon and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Today, day 77, multiple of 7. God, we've been at this 11 weeks now, and this is a day where I'm going to tell stories from my own life, my life as a steward, or at least what has become my life as a steward. Now here I sit in a little car, and I wanted to touch on transportation a little bit and just my thoughts and reflections on the whole thing. And going back to my days in Montana, I told you about the first day of being put in the old international pickup truck and driving down the fence row and, getting to the end and pushing on the brake without pushing on the clutch and the car lurching to a stop. Well, it wasn't long before I was speeding around on the dirt roads in Montana. If I had to go somewhere at the age of 14, I had free rein to hop in that pickup truck if it was a need and go do what had to be done. And there was some great freedom that came with that, to feel like I could sit behind the wheel of a pickup truck and shift gears and go fast down dusty roads and get to where I wanted to go. I will tell you, at the end of that first summer, I had pretty much beaten up that truck because I used to drive down those dirt roads way too fast. I also drove all kinds of machinery, tractors, and even big trucks at the age of 14. Dave, who was in his 60s at that point in time, I remember one time we were taking a load of sheep into Billings, Montana, which was about 90 miles away. Dave didn't want to drive, so he put me, in the driver's seat, and I drove a big, international truck filled with about 60 sheep in it to Billings, Montana, and back at night, and didn't have a driver's license or anything, but that seemed to be perfectly okay in Montana back in, I guess that was 72 or 3, quite a while ago. Now I remember my first car I got, Triumph TR4, cool little sports car. Thought that was awesome. I kind of wanted to get this truck, old Ford 4-wheel drive truck, but I ended up with this little sports car. It was fun, and it supposedly had a tractor engine, that little 4-cylinder tractor engine. Now, machinery, cars, all this stuff of what, especially then, did it typically run on diesel or gasoline. So here we are burning fossil fuels. And I tended to be the guy, especially having spent time in Montana, where I wanted to fix my own vehicles, because I'd seen Ron and Dave and helped out with fixing all kinds of stuff at the ranch. So when I got my car, I figured, well, I'm going to learn how to do all this stuff. Bought tools, some of which I still have today, and redid a lot of the different things that needed to be done at that point in time to a car that was kind of old. Transportation. Are we getting that much better gas mileage now than we were then? It's surprising that we're really not. And you got to wonder, what's at work here? Is it these, oil companies? Do they want to keep fuel economy low? I mean, my old Triumph got, 18 to 22 miles per gallon. And, a lot of cars these days get about the same. It seems like we could be doing better. And slowly, it seems like we are. The in-between times is, all right, why do we have to go traveling around all over the place? That's one question I ask myself a lot. And having lived on farms and ranches much of my life, I have found that my work entailed being at home. There were, and still are, days and days where I do not step foot in a vehicle. I'm just on the land. I'm digging in the dirt, planting things, taking care of plants that have already grown up, and doing whatever jobs there are to do around a place on the land. And there's something really wonderful about that. And then when you step back into a car after, say, 4 or 5 days of not being in one, there's, yes, of course, the knowledge of how to operate the whole thing. But also there's this sort of foreign feeling of, what am I just about to do? And, suddenly, you're operating this big thing and being jostled around as you travel wherever it is you're traveling to. All the travel that we've done and we are doing obviously has an effect. And what is that effect? And do we really think about it, or do we just take it for granted? When we're driving cars, what happens to the tires? They wear down. Well, where's all that stuff go? Into our environment. So we're breaking down tires every time we drive around. We wear a little bit off of that, and up it goes into the atmosphere, into the rain clouds, into the groundwater, into the soil, into the food that we eat, into the air that we breathe. Brake pads, same thing. Dripping oil off of an engine, same thing. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of a car, as well as all the exhaust. Can you stick your face, can you breathe the exhaust out of a car or a truck? No, it'll kill you. And that's not so great. And here we have millions and millions of cars on the road constantly these days, spewing out gases that are poisonous to people, that'll kill us. Now, one thing that I find really fascinating is think about our atmosphere and how actually minuscule it is. Workable, breathable atmosphere. How much do we have? 2 miles? 2 miles. It doesn't take long to walk 2 miles. Run 2 miles, 6-minute miles, 12 minutes of running, you've done 2 miles. Well, imagine taking that distance, which you can actually look pretty easily, a 2-mile distance, take that distance and tip it up vertically, and you have got about the workable atmosphere that, 90% of the population of the planet lives lower than 2 miles of vertical elevation. It's not very much. These are the gases that we depend on to live and breathe, that we are, in and out of our lungs all day long. All the other animals and critters that inhabit the planet, same thing. They're using those gases, and we are filling them up with things that aren't really beneficial to our health. And how does that affect us? I think it affects us in every which way possible. Physiologies probably aren't as strong. Our mental acuity is probably not what it could be. Do we have clarity to see the truth? Probably not as much as if we were breathing beautifully pure air. And what a difference it is to go from the city up into the mountains somewhere where there hasn't been the kind of contaminations that you'll have when you're in an urban, densely populated area. Not so many years ago, there were not cars on the roads. Horses and buggies, riders, walkers, and that's how people got from one place to another. Again, I would ask that question, where the heck are we going all the time that we need these vehicles to do it in? I mean, it makes it easy to jump in the car. Okay, I'm gonna go for a swim over at the club. I'm gonna go to a yoga class. Hey, let's go out to dinner. Let's go see a film. Let's go shopping. Oh, and then you gotta go to work. In America, come on, everybody has a car. It's really difficult to get to where you're going without a vehicle. And when you look at that, there was a conspiracy. Well, again, not so many years ago, back in the 50s, where 3 companies got together and they dismantled the transit systems, the public transit systems in cities across the United States so they could promote oil products, vehicles, privately owned vehicles, and tires. It was a conspiracy, and they were fined minimally, hardly at all. They were hardly fined because it was the big old, the good old boys club. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Okay, well, yeah. It completely altered the face of the United States, or the way we get around in this country. We get around in our little private vehicles, which are awesome. I mean, it's awesome, but it's kind of weird at the same time. What are we getting used to? Being in these little climate-controlled spaces. They're comfortable, made of the finest materials. Comfy seats, heated steering wheels, convertibles, air conditioning. I mean, Jesus, you're in some hot place. It's like, well, just go out to the car, crank it on, let's turn on the AC, and we'll stay cool that way. It's like all this energy that goes into being comfortable and jetting us around from one place to another. And again, I have to ask the question, where the heck are we going anyway? Because from what I've heard, and I think it's really true, everything you need to know is right inside here. And if everything you need to know is right inside here, well, then why do you need to go anywhere to what? For what? Can you spend a week at home and keep yourself busy? And this is where, having land to take care of and steward is such a gift. You can stay busy doing productive things with your time and energy, growing your own food, making a beautiful landscape, getting to know the local environment, the local flora and fauna. Now, it is interesting. I have this debate with one of my friends. They're like, God, Theo, why do you harvest olives? I mean, by hand. You could just go buy it for way less than the time and money it takes to press olives and all that. Well, the truth is, you're out there in the environment, grabbing olives off the tree. You take them to a place to get pressed. The price is pretty good, but you've got pure food from your own land. And on top of that, you're out in nature. Now, a very good friend who died recently, Chuck Baxter, cognition, he was totally into it, and he used to say that where does cognition come from? Cognition comes from free time spent in the out of doors. That's how we gain the ability to know things without having ever been told it by anyone or reading about it in a book. We just know it. Like Einstein knew things. He just knew it because he was out there in it. He just understood things. And if you're out in a garden doing stuff and interacting with bugs and pests, plants that are growing well, and watching the flowers come on, and eventually, the plant goes to seed, and you've harvested this and that. Oh my gosh, you get in touch with so many processes that you wouldn't be in touch with otherwise. And then on top of that, you don't have to get in your car to go get groceries because you can just walk outside to your garden. But you're back to the transportation thing. Now, transportation. As I got older, I really got into burning veggie oil in my vehicles. I bought diesels. And I still have, 97 Dodge Ram, which has Cummins diesel in it. Ran that thing on almost pure diesel, veggie oil for a while. Now I'm half and half. I ran 2 Mercedes-Benz wagons on veggie oil for forever. Hardly ever put fuel in. They ran on straight veggie oil, no problem. I have a Tesla now, Tesla Y, and I question whether that is the way to go or not. Just because of all the stuff that goes into creating the batteries. Where are you pulling your energy from? If you're charging off solar at home, probably a good thing. But if you're pulling off the grid, well, where's that energy coming from? Hybrid cars? I don't know. What's the point? Where are we going anyway? Why all this transportation? Sailing's a good way to go. It's slow, or relatively slow. But you're not burning all those fossil fuels. Anyway, something to think about. Where are you going? Okay, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining.